Okay, we're up to Chesamid days. Right before it gets wide, the two dots, it says Uliyoivlois. Right. So the Mishnah had said that Echa B'Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah for Yoivlois. Yovel begins right in Echa B'Tishrei. So what does the Torah say when it describes Yovel? If you have an article, you probably have Sukkim inside. It says Usafart lechem sheva shabasa shonim. Should count be seven times 7 years. Sheva pamim. V'hayulacha yemei sheva shabasa shonim. Teisha b'mishan will be 49 years. Varta shayfa trua. V'havarta you should go ahead and blow a shayfa trua b'chodesh hashvi on the 10th day best on the 10th day on the b'chodesh hashvi on the 7th month best l'chodesh, which is Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, you blow a shofar. By Yom Kippurim, taviru shofar b'chol aretzachem. So Pashtus, you would think that Yovel begins when you blow the shofar, based upon the. Our Mishnah seems to be in contrast to the Torah Shebechsav that says that Yovel begins with the blowing of the shofar on Yom Kippur of the Jubilee year. Now, the Kidashtem, it says V'Kidashtem es Shnasa Chamishim Shana. Guys, you should be Mekadesh the 50th year. Ukrosim Dora Ba'aretz should call freedom to the land. Chol Yeshveha to all its inhabitants. Yovel Hi Tiyelachem. V'Shavta Mishal Chuzasa. Each person should go back to his Achuza. V'ish El Mishpachta Teshuv. Each person should go back to what? His Mishpacha. The freeing of slaves. Yovel Hi Shnas Chamishim Shana Tiyelachem. Okay, and then it speaks about that the din of Shemitah is no again that. Okay, so the Pashtus, we have a problem. The Torah seems to say, the Torah proper, that Yovel begins on Yom Kippur, which is the 10th day of Tishrei, and our Mishnah seem to say Yovel begins on Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, or as what we call Rosh Hashanah. Yovelois be'echa b'Tishrei hu, Yovelois b'yud Tishrei hu. What do you mean that Yovel is on the first day of Tishrei? Yovel is on the 10th day of Tishrei. Because it says, Yom Kippurim, Taviru Shofar, on Yom Kippur, you should go ahead and blow a shofar. And for the Gemara, I'll tell you, Hamani, who's the Tana of our Mishnah? Rabbi Shmuel ben Oshel Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika. It's the Tana of Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika. The Tanya, it says, V'kidashtem eshnas hachamishim shana, and you should be make kodesh the 50th year. That was pasuk Yud, and you should make kodesh the 50th year. What are you telling me? It already says you count 49 years up to that point. Since it says that you blow a shofar in Yom Kippur, I would think like the Hey Miskadeshes telling Yom Kippur I would think Yovel only begins from Yom Kippur onwards. It says you make the 50th year kodesh mashma. That why it starts from Rosh Hashanah. Right, it begins. The Yovel begins on Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Chodesh. Okay, so now, obviously, guys, so there must be some significance then of the shofar. If you're telling me that it begins the Kidashtem, right? You be Makdash Yom HaChamishim, the 50th year. So what do you mean Taviru shofar? So what's the shofar doing? Rabbi Shmuel ben Oshel ben Breika. What's the shofar doing? It's got to be doing something. So it says the Gemara. Listen to this. Me Rosh Hashanah ad Yom Kippurim. We all know that, fellas, that an Eved Ivri goes free in Yovel. Meaning, let's go back in time. For some reason, we all remember this Yeshiva, right? An Eved Ivri works for 6 years and he goes free in the 7th year. And he loves his master. He loves being married to a Shifra Kanainis. He gets old in his ear. And when does he go free? Lo'olam means that Yovel. So Yovel, everyone goes free. What about if it's an Eved that was working within the 6th year? He also goes free. In other words, all of them go free. Not only the Eved that was in bondage for all the years because he agreed to it and he was old in his ear, what we call a nirtza, but even one of it was within the 6th year of his cycle of being sold, he would also go free. So now, and from Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, in the front of they won't go home. They won't go home to their houses. And they would not be able, they would not be, meshubed, they would be mechuyev to work for their masters. Elo oichlin v'shoisin, they would eat, they would drink. Usmeichim, and they'd be happy. Right? V'ataroseyem b'roshehem. Right? Rashi says, if they want to put an atara on their heads, if they show they're going free. So a little ambiguous what Rashi's saying, but there's a meiri, beautiful meiri, guys. Listen to this. We say the bracha, I tell Yisrael b'sifara. It seems to be Yisrael is oite b'sifara. He wore a turban. He wore a turban. But Shloi Sani Oved and Eved, well, that's actually Eved Knani, but an Eved did not wear a turban. But now, since you're in the state of semi-freedom, from Rosh Hashanah, you start working. If you want, if they so desire, they can put on this turban. So that's what Rashi seems to say. In Ratz, if they want, they can put this atara on. Not wearing a crown, guys. Not a crown. Who's wearing a crown? No one wears crowns. But from those times, we've got Torah Sember Hashem. Kimu Shagir Yom Kippur. Once they get Yom Kippur, Tiku Bezna B'Shayfa. They'll blow the Shayfa. Niftru Avodim L'Bateyim. The Avodim would go to their houses. The Sadai Schayzus L'Ba'aleihem, and the Steyachusa would go back to their owners. Okay, so we have machloikis exactly when the fields go back and when the fields go back and the bottom go back. It seems to be an agreement that would take place on Yom Kippur. Machloikis is when exactly does the year will start. Loit the Tanakama, no Eved would do anything until Yom Kippur. Nothing would take place in Yom Kippur. We have to see what he does with the pasuk of Vikidashtem es Shnasa Chamishim. We have to see what he does with the pasuk of Rabbi Shmuel ben Oshel Rabbi Rocha. He has a pasuk that says you should make holy the 50th year, meaning from Rosh Hashanah something's happening. And Lord Rabbi Shmuel, who our Mishnah goes according to, that's like the beginning of the freedom of the Avodim, right? And they won't work them anymore. Good. So when our Mishnah says that Rosh Hashanah is Echa B'Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah Liyavos, that's according to Tana of Yishmael Benoish Shal Yevach and Broiko, who dashes in the pasuk Vikidashtem as Shnasa Chamishim Shana, that the kedusha starts from Rosh Hashanah, from Echa B'Tishrei, but it's completed certainly the halachas that transpire, such as giving back the steyachusa and letting the Eved go free. That is only according to everybody on Yom Kippur. Only Yom Kippur. That's what, now for Rabban. What? Those 10 days. Master. Yeah. But you can't read that. Yeah, I'm sure, but it's nothing. For Rabbanon. Rabbanon. What do they do with the pasuk of Bnei Shloach and Braika? It says Shonim at Mekadesh, Vi at Mekadesh Chadashim. That teaches us that what you're Mekadesh Shonim, but you're not Mekadesh what Chadashim. Rashi says Kareb Elazar B'Shem in the Amal Kaman Perik Sheni Ben Shneir Bizmano Ben Shleiner Bizmano Ein Mekadesh Naisa. In other words, in the 50th year, fellas, you don't go ahead and be Mekadesh Luman Al Yidei Edom. In the 50th year, you don't need Adam to come to say that when Rosh Chodesh is. That Shana Atam Mekadesh, Vi Atam Mekadesh Chadashim. We'll see that later on, Be'ez Hashem. Tanya Idach, another brisa. Yovel He, the pasuk says Yovel He. Now, this seems to be very extraneous. The pasuk says again, you blow a shofar, V'kidashtem es Shnasa Chamishim Shana, you make Kodesh the 50th year, cross them door V'aretz by freeing the slaves. And then it says Yovel Hi Ti Elachem. It's Yovel. Right? So this pasuk Yovel Hi is going to be a big drasha. Says the Gemara. Ma Tamad Lema. If you should because it says V'kidashtem Eshnasa Chamishim, you mekadesh the 50th year. Yochel, I might think Keshem Shem is Kadeshes V'Eleches Michilasoi. Just like what it's Kodesh from the beginning. Kach Miskadeshes V'Eleches B'Seifa. So to what it's Kodesh in the end. Right? Meaning you continue on, right? Rashi says, Rosh Hashanah v'timshach Yom Kippur. In other words, I would think that the halachas of Yovel would apply from Rosh Hashanah until next Yom Kippur, not that Yom Kippur, just like because Rosh Hashanah is holy, Yom Kippur is holy. I would think also even until next Yom Kippur, that there's a din of Yovel, the Alta Tameh, as we're going to see. You add on Chol al Kodesh. We do it every week. We do it by Yontif. We do it by Shabbos. We certainly do it by Shemitah, by adding on the mundane to the Kodesh, starting it earlier. So since you know that concept exists, I might think even at the end, you'd add on Chol, you'd continue going from Rosh Hashanah till Yom Kippur of the year afterwards. Tamad Leimar Yoiveli, Shnasa Chamishim. Shnasa Chamishim at the Mekadesh, Viat Mekadesh, Shnasa Chamishim Achas. Right? That you Mekadesh what? you mekadesh the 50th year and not the 51st year. Now, this is only according to Rabbi Yishmael ben Oshel Yochanan Broika. But like the Rabbanon who do not use the pasuk of the Kidashtem, right? So why would you think you're mamshech? Guys, in other words, look at me for total clarity. Why would you think at the end of the 50th year, you go from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur? Because that's what you did at the beginning of the 50th year. You went from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. But that's only according to who? Rabbi Yishmael ben Rosh Yochanan Baruch, the Tana of our Mishnah. Why did the Rabbanan hold? You start from Yom Kippur. So if you're starting from Yom Kippur, of course they'll have a mina. At the end, you're going to go ahead and continue. Why would you continue? There's no significance to Rosh Hashanah. It's only like Rabbi Shmuel that you begin on Rosh Hashanah that you would think next year also you continue from Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. But the Rabbanon who do not darshan that way, right? Who don't darshan that way? Look at the top Rashi, guys. The Rabbanon, the lo yalfi mevikadashtem, who do not learn out from Mikdashtem. They start from Yom Kippur. Shetis kadesh mitchilasa. For like itzrichi lemute soifa. You don't need yovel he. It is only the 50th year, not the 50th verse, right? Mute Soifa, Darshalei Hachi. Here's the way they darshan. Okay, back in the Gemara. Shnas chamishim atamoina, v'atamoina shnas chamishim v'achas, lafuke midreb Yehuda da'amar shnas chamishim oilukan ulukan. Kemash malon deloy. Okay, guys, this is a very famous machlokes. If you've been through Shas, you know it's in a few places. So, guys, you're a Shas Yidden. At least until Rosh Hashanah, Daf Tes, your Shas Yidden. But since we never had this before, so don't feel bad that you forgot it because I never taught it to you. When you count the Yovel year, is it the 50th year and the first year of the next Shemitah cycle? Or it's the 50th year and the 51st year is the first year of the Shemitah cycle? That's the machlokes. Rabbanan Seviki Dashtem Shas Chamishim. Dafka Yovel is the 50th year, but it doesn't count as the first year of the 51st year will be the first year of the next 7 years of the next Shemitah cycle. Conversely, Rabbi Yehuda says no. Yeah, it counts as Yovel. In addition, it's the first year of the next cycle. So like Rabbi Yehuda, it was always 1 year earlier. Now there weren't too many Shemitah cycles. There weren't. There very, very few. There were very few Shemitah cycles. Well, again, earlier when Yovel is only noyig when the Asar Shvatim, or when all the Shvatim on the various Nachlas. By Bavel already, we had already way before they went into Gullus before.
Those 70 Shemitah years they didn't keep.
I'm saying again, that's the longest. But again, Yovel wasn't noyig already even before Bayis Rishon, guys. Even before the destruction of Bayis Rishon. Why? Because they went into the Asar Shvatim went into Gullus. So since they were in Gullus, as soon as they were off the Nachla, it was no longer Yovel. So the slavery is only noyig. Slavery is only noyig during the Yovel years. You know, it's a concept. It's very interesting. You have a concept of slavery, but it wasn't kept that long. No. Okay. Anyway, for Rabbanan, what do they do with the Kidashtem? Since they don't need it to teach me the end because they don't have the beginning. You count the 50th year as the only the 50th year and not the first year. The Atamoyne Shnas Chamishim ve'achas as the Shmi, right? Lafukim Rabbi Yehuda Dama Shnas Chamishim Oilukan Ulukan. It goes in both. It counts in both. Kamash B'lan. Now, according to the Chachamim, where do they know the Mosif Mechalal Kodesh? So Bishleima, like Rabbi Shmuel ben Ashur Yochanan Breika, you know it from Shemitah. Where do they know it from? Since they use it for something else. Let me. Udeloy Masif and Kodesh Kodesh Mina. Learn the Tanya. Okay, here's a pasuk. Shemais Lamed Dalid. Okay, listen to this pasuk, guys. What pasuk is it? Shemais Lamed Dalid. What? Chav Dalid. Chav Aleph. Okay, guys. What's this pasuk speaking about? Tell me. Shabbos. Sheises Yomim Tavoid. What's it speaking about? Guys, come on, you sound like my school with no one raises their hands. Sheishes Yomim Ta'avoid Uvayom Hashvi Tishbois. Shabbos, clearly, right? 6 days you should work and you should rest on the 7th day. Shabbos. Bechorish, plowing, Ubakotzer, harvesting, Tishbois, you should rest. Now, why, if it's speaking about Shabbos, are you only picking out plowing and and cutting, there are plenty of other things you can't do. Kol malacha lesasu, right? So if it's speaking about Shabbos, right, why do you pick out those two? So this is machlokes, machlokes we're going to see now between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael, exactly how to darshan this pasuk. One is going to darshan in Inyan Shemitah, and one's going to darshan in Inyan Shabbos. Okay, so what does it say? From plowing uva katza tishbais. Rabbi Akiva oimer. Listen to this. Ain't it sarach loy mecharish v'katza shel shviyas? You don't have to tell me that speaking about plowing and harvesting in the Shemitah year. Shaykvai Nemar had already said sadcha loy sizvar v'cham loy sichresh. Right? In other words, guys, so Rabbi Akiva says it's not speaking about Shabbos. Guys, Rabbi Akiva says it's not speaking about Shabbos. Because speaking about Shabbos, you wouldn't go ahead and just pick out charish for katzir, right? You wouldn't pick that just out. No reason to. So it must be speaking about Shemitah. Now, you don't have to tell me charish for katzir of the Shemitah year, because it already says you can't go ahead, what? It says you shouldn't go ahead and plow. El charish shel erev shvius, hanichnas the shvius. It's speaking about plowing on erev shvius that goes into the Shemitah year. The katzir shel shvius, and harvesting crops from that go out Motzei Shemitah. That in other words, they grew a third during the Shemitah year that you can't cut them. So this is being moisef michal ala kodesh according to who? Rabbi Akiva. You're being moisef. What? We won't allow you to work even before the Shemitah year. That'll improve the Shemitah crop. We're moisef, even though it's the 6th year, we won't let you work. You're being moisef michal the 6th year ala kodesh the 7th year. So this is how we know, according to the Chachamim, and it's only because Charish v'Katzer, and even though the pasuk Pashtus is speaking about Shabbos, says Rabbi Akiva, it can't be speaking about Shabbos, because why then he only designated those two particular malachas? And the answer is because it's not speaking about Shabbos, it's speaking about what? Shemitah, and it's telling me that what? Charish v'Katzer. So let's see Rashi over here. Ain't it tzarich loy mecharish v'Katzer shel shviyas? The al korchach achav gav the reish the krab Shabbos koi. Even though the first part of the pasuk is clearly speaking about Shabbos, says Rashi, tichsiv sheish yomim tavoid seifa ashviyas koi. The seifa is going on Shemitah. The I Shabbos chorish v'katahu da'asar shamalachas mishari. So obviously it's not. So what is it speaking about? Why do you pick out dafkaros to malachas? Chorish al erev shviyas shlo yachri sada ilan. Erev Shvius, you shouldn't go ahead and plow orchard. So the Elon Erev Shvius, Sheyoyel Shvius, that's going to help in the Shemitah year. The Katzer Shel Shvius, going for Shavias Shlis B'Shvius, the shvu that grew a third of its growth in the Shemitah year. Hatanoigba Minik Shvius B'Shmidas in the 8th year, don't cut it. Good. That's Rabbi Akiva, and now you know you're being moist of Mechol Kodesh. Now, Rabbi Yishmael disagrees. Back in the Gemara, Rabbi Yishmael says no. Moisifin Mechol Kodesh Minalon. Did I skip? I skipped. I'm sorry. Tell us there is no mitzvah in the Torah. Not one time in the Torah is there a mitzvah to go ahead and plow on Shabbos. Never. Never. Anytime you're plowing, it must be not because of a mitzvah, it must be rishus. You don't find any het for plowing whatsoever. Ever. Only plow is rishus. We do find that there is a mitzvah to go ahead and cut. So in other words, the following. Guys, watch. Let's say it would be, we all know Tesayin, Nisan, you bring the Omer. You want to bring the Omer. You go, Motzei Shmir, Motzei Pesach. You go in the field, it's not plowed yet. You can't plow it. It's nothing. You can't. There's no head to the plow. Now, what happens if you show up in the field? Motzei you need it on Tesayin. So it's Tesvav at night. You go to the field and you find cut grain. Can you take that? Or is there a mitzvah to cut? There is a mitzvah to cut. Good. So just like there's a mitzvah to cut, right? When you found cut, the Mela on Shabbos there'd also be a mitzvah to cut. And where do you learn that from? Mach chorish rishus. Just like chorish never has a time where it's a mitzvah, it's always rishus. Af kotzer rishus, you can't do what on Shabbos, a rishus. What happens if it's a mitzvah? That you could do on Shabbos. So Rabbi Shmuel says it's not speaking about Shemitah at all. The whole pasuk from beginning to end is discussing Sheis Hashem and Tavad is speaking about what? Shabbos. Shvius Tishbais speaking about Shabbos. Chorish v'kotzer. What about Stam Malacha? You know why we picked out those two malachas? To teach us a unique din that by Ketsiris or Omer, there's a mitzvah to cut it. I feel on Shabbos. Okay, that's what we're learning out from it. Said the Gemara inside. Rishma Leime, Ma Chorish v'shus av kotzer v'shus yotza Ketzira Omer. This would exclude the cutting of the Omer. Shu mitzvah, which is a mitzvah. Now, Rabbi Shmuel, if he doesn't, that's not Rabbi Akiva. Where do you know that it can be Ma'aseh Mechalal Kodesh? Rabbi Akiva explained it to us, right? That we go ahead in the 6th year already, we're going to be Ma'aseh, right? And Ma'aseh Shemitah, the 7th, 8th. Rabbi Shmuel, who dashes in Shabbos, Ma'aseh Mechalal Kodesh Minalei, Nafklei Meditanya. He learns it out from a Gemara that we do know, a Gemara in Yuma. Guys, when's the mitzvah to eat? Everyone knows this Gemara, right? Our stomach growls. Everyone's right. It's classic Gemara. Everyone knows it's a mitzvah to eat. Good. The Tanya, it says, you should go ahead and be ma'ani yourself right on the 9th day. Yochel b'tisha. I would think yochel on the 9th day. You're right. Tamad leima be'erev. It says be'erev, only in the evening. I think only when it gets dark. Tamad leima b'tisha. So how do you reconcile? It says tisha be'erev. How do you do that? Okay, tzad. Maschul and misanim b'yoyim. You go ahead and you begin fasting a little bit beforehand. So therefore, Yom Kippur is his source that we begin fasting a little bit before Shkia. Says the Gemara, that only when it goes in, he's supposed to go ahead and fast. How do you know even after it says you should fast a little bit? Go from one evening to the next. Now, Yom Kippur, Shabbos Minayin. How do you know Shabbos? You might say Michal Kodesh. Again, it's Yom Tov Minayin. Tamalay Shabbatchem. Tishbishu Shabbatchem. Those are extra words. So Tishbishu is teach me Yom Tov. There's a dinner of my Sifim Malachad Kodesh, and Shabbatchem is to teach me Ran, even by Yom Tov. One by Shabbos. Tishbishu is Shabbos teaching me Tashbisu, Tishbisu, and Yom Tov is what is Shabbatchem. Okay, tzad. Kol makom sheish by Shvus. Any time what there's a Shvus. My Sifim Michal Kodesh. Now you can include what Shvius, because Shvius is a Rishus. Okay. Now, so what do we have? We have according to the Rabbanon on Rabbi, according to Rabbi Shmuel ben Shmuel and Breika, right? Who darshins v'kidash them the Ma'aseh Michal Kodesh. We're being Ma'aseh from Yom Kippur, from Rosh Hashanah. According to the Tanakama, we're learning out from Rabbi Akiva's din of being Ma'aseh by Shemitah. The cutting and going out. According to Rabbi Shmuel, who argues with Rabbi Akiva about the pasuk, says speaking about Shabbos, he knows it from Yom Kippur. Rabbi Akiva, what does Rabbi Akiva do with this limud? Obviously, he doesn't need it, right? Because he learns it from the Chorish of Katzir. So he learns it from there. He doesn't need it even for Yom Kippur. So mi boy lelech the Tani Chia bar Rav midifti. The Tani of Chia Rav from the Tan of 50. V'nisim nashosechem betisha. Do you go ahead and fast on the 9th day, guys? You fast on the 10th day. It's if you want, he's fasting on what? The 9th and the 10th. Okay, let's see 3 dinim associated with this pasuk, guys. In order is important. When Chafei pasuk tes, va'avarta shofar trua b'chodesh hashvi'i ve'asal chodesh b'yom kippurim taviu shofar b'chol atzchem. So, guys, in the Shemitah year, you blow a shofar. Good. That's one din. Next pasuk, v'kidashim b'shas chamish mishanu karasim dera ba'aretz. They go free. They go free. That karasim dera lashon freedom. Avodim go 3. So 2, we learned 2 dinim so far. 1, you have to blow shofar. 2, you have to go ahead and free your avodim. Good. Then it says, Yovel he, it's Yovel, Tiyalachem, V'shaftim ish al chuzasai, V'ish el mashpachta teshuv. What does it mean? V'shaftim ish al chuzasai? The third din, that if you sold your ancestral land, you get it back, right? You get back your land that you sold in Yovel. So 3 dinim, Shaifa, Avodim, and land. Shaifa, blowing it, Avodim go free, and you get back, you stay achuza in the, okay. What happens if you don't do it? Is it ma'akiv? I mean, it's like not yovel. Do you need all 3? Don't you need all 3? And if you don't need all three, which ones do you need? Three are machlekes. Okay, first shita. Tanabanan. Yovel hi afa pi shalei shamtu. Even though what shalei shamtu, even though that's speaking about karka, right? Even though shalei shamtu, afa pi shalei taku. Even if you didn't what blow. Yochalam, I think afa pi shalei shalchu. If you didn't send back avodim, tamalema hi divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, guys, he meaning it's Yovel, and so there, according to Rabbi Yehuda, of the three things, the one that's ma'akiv sending back the avodim. The Gemara is going to learn it out, guys. Okay, okay, it's very easy. Gemara, three things: shayfa, avodim, karka. Says Rabbi Yehuda, if you don't blow the shayfa and you don't return the karka, it's still Yovel. Only if you send the avodim. If you don't send the avodim, it's not Yovel. Good. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. Rabbi Yossi says, Yovel he, afa pi shalei shamtu, even if you don't return the land, afa pi shalei sholchu, even if you don't send back avodim, yachal afa pi shalei tiku, I'm thinking if you don't blow, tamid leimar, he, it, meaning, okay, and that's the miyat. So therefore, what do you need in order for it to be what? Yeah, you need blowing. You need to blow. So again, Rabbi Yehuda, you need to send back avodim. Rabbi Yossi, you need a blow. Okay. Now the Gemara now is going to explain blowing. What's the reason you blowing? Rabbi Yossi, b'china achash and mikra echad marbe, u'mikra echad mayit. One the pasuk is including and one pasuk is excluding, right? Ma ani oime yovel. Why do we say yovel? Afa pishlei shalchu. Then yovel came tiku. So in other words, why is the key the big thing? Says Rabbi Yossi, the Gemara explains Rabbi Yossi, the fish efshel oilam b'lo shiluach avodim. Guys, is it possible not to send back avodim? No avodim. Guys, what happens if no avodim to be sent back? No one liked this master in the 50-year period, and no one liked this master. No one liked this shift of kindness that he was living with. So, in other words, ostensibly, I could have a problem. If you're telling me you have to send back avodim, what happens if there would be no avodim to send back? So Mamela, it doesn't make sense that should be what? An ikif to calling it yovel. However, the that's a game changer. You have to blow. You have to blow. Says Rashi. In other words, it's not. Guys, it's possible to find there was no avodim. It's not possible to find there's no shofar. It's not possible to find there's no shofar. Not possible. Davar zu mesora lebezdin, zu ain't a mesora lebezdin. Another, who blows? Bezdin. Who sends back avodim? People. So if people are involved, says Rabbi Yossi, I can't go ahead and make my Kriyas Yovel subject to every individual. Maybe there's one individual, it won't be so good. Mashen came Besdin, which is biyadai, to go ahead and control that facet. Since you control that facet, the Melawat, it's ma'akiv. So two pshatim in Reb Yossi. One, either because for sure you're going to have a shofar, it's not so sure you'll have avodim. Or secondly, it's in your power to blow. It's not in your power to go ahead and free avodim, because freeing avodim is up to the individual. It's up to the individual. It's very interesting that the freeing of avodim is that we've been mitzuvim before Matan Torah to free avodim. You should free avodim because it's very hard to free avodim. They work for you for so long and everything. But mainly you have to understand. Chaim Shmuel, it's the whole sharing it. You know, it's like a lack of a curse at Toiv. After all, you were avodim. You should know what it's be to be a nevid, and you shouldn't hold on to it. No. Okay. Why do you have to come up with the second reason, guys? Why wasn't the reason about that maybe there was no avodim and come up with it? It's the hands of Bezdin. It's not possible in all the world that there won't be one that won't send. Right? In other words, maybe it's got to be there's one, and maybe that one won't send. Who knows? It says freeing avodim. It's not giving over to the Bezdin, but blowing shofar is. Okay. Bishlam Rabbi Yossi Kedama Taimei. We just gave the reason for Rabbi Yossi that the yovel is contingent upon blowing of the shofar, right? Either because why shofar is always found, or it's in the hand of Bezdin, right? But not avodim and not karka. It's interesting. Karka doesn't come into play. It's simply the two players over here, Avodim and what, and blowing shofar. El Rabbi Yehuda, my timer. Like Rabbi Yehuda, why is it contingent upon what? Upon, right? Sending, right? Why is it contingent on sending back, right? In other words, it has to be that you send back. It says, Ukrosim dera ba'aretz. Guys, what is saying the pasuk? It says the pasuk, V'kidashtem es shnasa chamishim, make holy the land, Ukrosim dera la'aretz. Right? It says the pasuk, you should call freedom in the land. Ukasova mikrat nikvish lefanov, v'loy lefani fanov. Okay? So now, guys, here's the pasuk. Tes. Favatim shofar trua, taviru shofar chalatzim. I skipped. Good. So pasuk tes is what is the shofar. Good. V'kidashtem es shnas chamishim shana ukrosim dera ba'aretz l'chol yeshver yovel hi. What's next to yovel, guys? Ukrosim dera la'aretz. Aretz. Back one box. Lefanov. What's shofar? Two boxes. Lefani fanov. You begin with shofar. Then you say avodim. Then you say yovel. Yovel is, you're going to dash him. What's yovel? What is yovel contingent upon? Lefanov. Dera ba'aretz. What's dera ba'aretz? Avodim. But not lefani fanov to what? Shofar. So it's a limit in the pasuk. It's not a svara. It's not a svara. The cry will only dash in lefanov, but lo lefani fanov. We will go back one space and not two spaces. So when it says yovel he, we're only going to go back to the space of Durar, Avodim. We won't go back two spots to what? Shaifa. That's his reasoning. One more time. Bishlam Rabbi Yossi Kedama Taima El Rabbi Yehuda, who says that what it's contingent upon freeing Avodim. My timer. Amakra, the pasuk says the cross and Durabar. She called feed him the land by freeing Avodim. Ukasabar and he darshans Mikra Nidish Lefanov. The yovel he will darshan Lefanov one check back to Durar, freedom of life, Lefanov, which is what speaking about blowing a shofar. The Kuli Alma Lashon Durar Lashon Cheres. Everyone says Durar is Lashon of Cheres, is Lashon of freedom. My mashma, how's the mashma to Lashon of freedom? Titania, Ein Durar a Lashon Cheres. It's a Lashon of Cheres. Amar Yehuda, my Lashon Durar, Kimidaya Beidaira, you live wherever you want to live. Umayvel Schar B'chol Medina, and you carry your Medina from place to place. In other words, you're a total free guy. And the play on words is Kimidaya Lashon Avad of Durar. Okay. Now, so we have two shittas. Rabbi Yossi, it's contingent upon Shaifa. Rabbi Yehuda, it's contingent upon Avodim. We don't pass on like either one. Amar Rav Chia bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Sudir Rabbi Yehuda, that's contingent upon Avodim. For Rabbi Yossi, that's contingent upon Shaifa. Al Chacham Maimrim, Shloshton Ma'akvis boy. All three. You need Shaifa, you need returning Avodim, and you need the return of Karka. Now, guys, in the order of things, let's go through it. What's first? Shofar. What's next? Avodim. And now, Yovel he, and after Yovel he, what does it say? Ushafte misha lechuzasai. Then you have going back to your ancestral land. So that's not lefanov, that's la'achrav. That's afterwards. That's la'achrav. So now, Ksavar mikra nidrash. The pasuk of Yovel he is darshan lefanov. It goes back to lefanov, which is avodim, ulefanei fanov, which is shayfer, uleachrav, which is karka. I vaksiv yovel, right? It says yovel is mashma. It's it's something. It says Gemara, who da afilu b'chutz laaretz, afilu b'chutz laaretz, vaksiv ba'aretz, ahu bisman shenoig dra ba'aretz, noig b'chutz laaretz. When it's in Eretz Yisrael, it's like b'chutz laaretz. Bisman sheina noig ba'aretz. Ein a noyig b'chutz laaretz. When it's noyig in Eretz Yisrael, it's noyig in chutz laaretz. When it's not noyig in Eretz Yisrael, it's noyig in chutz. Again, we haven't had yovel guys for yovel. We haven't had yovel for. It's what?
How do they?
You know, so it's very interesting. So if it's noyig ba'aretz, you'll be noyig shmita as opposed to shmita, which is not. Look at Tosfos. Yovel he liyos asa b'zriya v'katsira. Be usher to plant and to cut. Kedetziv like scissor of like six through. Even though it doesn't return. So the l'chera in chutz la'aretz there would be a din mad of shmita. There'd be the in yovel you'd be din isriya. If it's noig mad in Eretz Yisrael, it'll be noig here. But again, it's not okay. Not noig. Okay.
Well, how do they interrupt that? What if there isn't slaves?
What?
What if there aren't slaves? So there's no yovel?
Again, if there's no slaves, then again, I don't think there's nothing to send. I mean, if there's no yovel, there's nothing said. In other words, it would be ma'akiv if, in other words, I would answer. If there were slaves, and right, it would be ma'akiv. There's no one to send, there's no one to send. You can't create the scenario. You know, can't create a scenario like that. Now, the next thing was Ekabet Tishrei is linyan netia, guys, planting. Planting as nafkamina linyan arla. The first three years of a fruit-bearing tree's life, it's asa bahana. The fourth year is called Netar Avoy. It's treated like Ma'aser Sheni. You have to bring it up to Yerushalayim and eat it there. Or you can be paid to bring to Yerushalayim. That's called Netar Avoy. Now, what's the cutoff point? When is it considered Arla? We said you have to plant 30 days before a tree, 30 days before to take root. And then, so Rosh Chodesh Elul, you come Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, it'll be considered the second year. As we're going to see in tomorrow's daf, it doesn't mean you could eat. It doesn't mean you can eat, but still, we're going to see it. Shalosh shonim arelim. It says 3 years arelim. Lishon arelim is fashtup. You can't have enough from it. Uksiv ubishana haraviyas, and in the fourth year, okay, in the fourth year. Now, what? How does stuff to do with Tishrei, guys? Okay, so again, let's go back to Ali Mudim. Tishrei says shana, and Nisan says chodesh shana shana. Good. Now, because we had this limit a few times. For Yolav shana shana mi Tishrei. Dichsiv me reishish hashana. So it says ubishnas haraviyas. And it says Mereshus Hashanah. So Shnas Revi, Resh Hashanah is Tishrei. Fredim Rav Lev Shana Shana Mi Nissen. Let's learn from Nissen. Yichsev Rishon Ulachem Lechad Shei Hashanah. You know the answer. Done in Shana She'eni Chadashim. We're going to learn the word Shana from something that doesn't have the word Chodesh with it. So by Tishrei, you only have the word Shana. By Netar Avoy, you only have the word Shana. Right? She'eni Chadashim. Mishana She'eni Chadashim. Rather than learning by Shana Sheni Machadashim, right, such as Netar Avoy, Mishana Sheishim Machadashim, such as Nisan. And therefore, it's going to be Tishrei.